rolling already? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Four weeks it's been, we haven't been together. I've missed you all. I've missed Al. I've missed just talking
to myself here in this dark, cold room.
The weather has turned since I've been gone. I spent 3 weeks in Nihon, Japan. I was very fortunate to jump around there yet again. That's our third family trip there. Third trip, 2 with family. The first one we did not yet have the franchises which I've created along the way. Anyway, oh, and we have to put this on. Al, you've got this, you gotta get a zoom in. We've got a little, because whenever you go to Japan, you've got to get obviously a local. You can't do any of this Rolex bullshit. You've got to get something proper that Japanese fingers created with love, okay? So we've gone back to Seiko, like the green on this one, so I'm happy with that. And we're not gonna talk anymore about the watch extravagant. We've got it all on tape now anyway. Ooh, I should pick that up. Deal with that after. Today's title is Who Broke Vancouver Real Estate? So we have touched on this over the months, weeks, but I want to dive in a little bit longer. I've got some stats here, a variety of stats. I'm going to be reading. We all know how well I read on these things. Off the cuff is substantially better, but we've got some stats that we need to layer opinions on today. We're going to try and keep it under 20 as usual. Here we go. So homeownership rose, a little history lesson for you people. Homeownership rose from 63 to 70% between 1991. Al, how old were you in 1991? You were 1. Oh, Jesus. 1991, I was 10. In 2011, where it hit its peak and then began to fall. So homeownership has been peaked in 2011 and then been receding, falling back down ever since to the current state at the end of 2023 of 66.8% homeownership here. So obviously increased financial barriers, i.e. purchase prices. As of late, obviously interest rates, but that's a little anomaly in the bigger picture, as we know. So that's an interesting stat from StatsCan, I thought. Medium detached prices in this time. So we basically increased from 300,000 to 730,000 median detached Vancouver home price from 1991 now we're going back. No, that's where we just were. Jesus Christ, I'm losing it. 91 to 2011, sorry. 300,000 to 730. So we had 143.3% increase median prices in that time. The median detached price from 2011 to 2024 has now jumped from 730 to 2.7. So we've got a 269.86% increase layered on top of that. Incomes. People very commonly speak on the detachment of incomes to real estate prices. You go to Toronto, there's big business, rah, rah, rah. Vancouver, you got nothing. So why the hell are the prices so expensive? Why are they so far off incomes? We grew incomes 7% from 1991 to 2020 to 2011, and then average income growth from 48.5 to 58.3 from 2011 to 2022, which StatsCan for some reason only has the data up to then, so an additional 20%. So while income rose 27% in that time, real estate prices rose over 400%. So there's a bit of an issue there. Government fingers slide in, as you know, to start manipulating to allow these prices to be accessible to the masses, and that's what we're going to dive into shortly. In 1991, debt to income ratio was roughly 80%. This figure hit 185% of household income by 2021, and by 2023, BC household debt to income ratio was 203.7%. You are the winner, BC, at the highest income to debt ratio in this beautiful land we call Canada. So, next stage, housing financialization. That's a word we are hearing more and more of. People have financialized the market. They don't only financialize the stock market, but they now have financialized the real estate market. Nothing new, but we're hearing a lot more about it because narratives are, there's all these bad guys out there, we the government are trying to help you, yada, yada, yada. So the financialization intensified since 1999. Al, what happened in 1999? What did you do? How old were you? You were 1 in 80 to 90. So you were 19. What did you do for New Year's, 1999? You said you were born in 2000. No, 1990. Oh yeah, Jesus, good. Anyway, Al was not out that year. I was out in spades. I was in Sydney, Australia. That's a whole other story, as we've talked about. Anyway, back to reality here. 1999, when the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHC, remember those saviors when you were like, shit, real estate's expensive, I can't get 20% down, and your broker was like,
you don't need that, because CMHC is here to help you. The government is here to help. They're going to give you an insured loan. And you don't even have to put that 20% down, man. We can almost get you as low as 5.
I remember when you had 0 down, Al, back when I started in the ye 2000s. But anyway, CMHC shifted from building homes to insuring mortgages. So they used to build. Then they said, this is too much work. All we need to do is be an insurance lender to the people, and that will get our point across. Instead of creating something, we will financialize it. And CMHC's mortgage securitization program expanded access to mortgages, fueling demand, real estate speculation, turned housing into a vehicle for asset building and capital accumulation. Federal subsidies further encouraged home ownership. So what they did was made access easier. What did we see when rates went down? Money was cheaper, access was easier. We'll get into that. So access to capital is the culprit here. They're going to say, these are the bad people, the speculators. The landlords are the pricks. Putin created inflation in the West. They're going to say everything, but at the heart of it, you go back to 1999 and the access began at the top. Yes, the government. So who is the gatekeeper to access today? There's a little love affair going on, Al. It's a bond, a long-standing bond. No divorce in this love affair. This story is firm and solid, and this is the love between the government and the banks.
And ice cream castles in the air.
The banks and the government come together when they need to, they part when they have to, but during this conversation of you buying and selling real estate, they are forever together. Where am I? So the current environment, obviously there's plenty of inventory and very few buyers. As money becomes cheaper as it is, we just had another rate increase of 0.5. There's another one forecast for December. As we go into next year, all the highly paid economists are forecasting that this will continue a downward trajectory. The most manipulated number in our country, the inflation number, is down below where they want it to be to start reducing. So what do you think is going to happen as this money becomes cheaper? Inevitably, we're slowly starting to see it now. There's a laundry list of inventory out there, and buyers are now slowly coming off the fence. Finally off the fence. The rates are finally becoming adjusted down enough to make it look appealing enough for them to get involved. Now, so access to capital is the key to all of this. Now I just want to pull some other stats here on some recent things. So we have in BC record crime, record homelessness, record healthcare system crisis. Al, do you have a family doctor? Damn it, you s***ed my point. I don't, and a lot of people don't. Here's some other stats for you. BC GDP is the lowest in Canada at 0.9%. April 2023 to April 2024, we had a 3.3% increase in BC population, the largest population growth in 53 years, and record population still with the worst GDP in this beautiful land. Public sector employees, 440 to 590,000 jobs. That's a 34% increase in 4 years. Number 1 in the province for public sector employment growth, another number 1 that is should not be applauded. 6% unemployment in BC, 6.5% in the Lower Mainland, 3,200 public job increases with 23,400 private job eliminations. Now, I think that is 2023, 2024 as well. I actually don't have the year stats on that. Anyway, April 2024, I'm not going to touch that. Obviously, as we know, groceries are up 32%, gas up 54%. We have the highest gas price in the country with no rebate. Mr. Trudeau, what the hell happened there? Provincial debt is now at $128 billion. 4.78 billion of that is an interest payment on that debt annually. We are running at a $9 billion deficit in 2024. Forecasted deficit spending. We are going to go further into debt in 2025, 6.7 billion. And again in 2026, 6.4 billion. Worst deficit spending in over 30 years. 0% private sector growth in BC since 2019. Who pays all the city workers if the private sector is not paying tax? You don't know how that equation goes. 37% government growth since 2019. Hospitals closing on the weekends in the northern section of the provinces. I have not heard that before. I welcome you to the statistics of the BC NDP, who just got in again, re-elected with so much credibility. It's unbelievable. And we're going to leave it at that. If you voted for them and you believe that those stats are worth continuing, I applaud you. You've won the battle. You've won the war. You can continue progressing down this road. I've heard a lot of boomers speak on this last election. You're getting a lot of this. Now, these are rich people with paid off assets in the millions that really don't have to care. They're kind of out, away, secluded. Away from, let's say, downtown and the mess that's you see down here every day. But a common thread along these NDP voters, because you look at all this and you can say, how on earth can anyone vote for this? Again, is the evil you know is less scary than the evil you don't. That's a very painful way to look at things that makes zero sense to me, specifically if you have children that are going to be trying to find their way in the world in this current Canadian, BC, Vancouver economy. But anyway, I leave it at that. You won. Congratulations. I hope what you want to happen will happen. That's in all sincerity. I'll take that loss on the chin. And from there, we jump into the final point of this. David Eby's unveiling his opening doors to homeownership plan. What's the plan? He plans to help thousands of middle-class families break into the housing market every year by financing 40% of the purchase price. Now, we've heard of this last episode, episode 295. They modeled something on the Heatherlands development as we went into the Squamish, Tsawwassen. What's the third one? There's a third one. Al, you should be ready to provide just this, 40% financing. So Eby's plan would support middle-income families to purchase new homes while adding to the housing supply. Land and pre-sale construction contributions from the provincial government will allow people to buy units at 60% of their market value. Sounds enticing. The provincial contribution is repaid along with a share of the appreciation when owners sell the unit or after 25 years, financing the next generation of homeowners. Okay. We're now in bed together directly. What is this? This is more access to capital. Government financing at the start of the project and the use of no or low cost land. So I'm assuming this is government land currently owned, allowing builders to offer the units for sale at 40% below market prices. Buyers only need to secure financing for 60% of the home price. That would mean that a 2-bedroom condo that would normally cost $1 million would be accessible at a price of just $600,000. In exchange for upfront contribution, the province registers a second mortgage at no cost to the buyer. There's that little benefit to you, Mr. Buyer, for the remaining 40%. When the buyer sells a unit, the province the contribution is repaid plus 40% of the appreciated value of the home. They're not just going to help you, they want their cut of this bubbling economy as well that they're creating here. When the buyer sells the unit, the province contribution is repaid plus 40% of the appreciated value of the home. This allows the province to recover the full capital costs. So see, that taxpayer money isn't just disappearing, they're gonna get it back, as well as a small return without imposing costs on the seller. Roughly 1/3 of people who buy condo units resell them within 10 years, they have found, as this is the life circumstance change timeline of most buyers in that segment. As people resell their units and repay the government financing, this will create funding that can be used to support more families like you to get into affordable homes. Now, this is to the tune budgeted for $1.29 billion allotment to this plan a year. So what is this now? This is yet more access. So if something becomes cheaper, always by way of a government subsidy, what's happening? Well, they're already in debt, so we're just creating money now. The tax base is not supporting what is happening, so they're borrowing, so inflation, not Putin, government money creation. And then they're giving people access to 40% of their purchase prices, up to $1.29 billion in workings a year. So when something becomes 40% cheaper, who's going to access this and what's it going to do? Well, the first people to jump in, when the market is today, if this gets layered on today, the first, 100 families, 10 families, whatever it is that has today's pricing will benefit the most because they get the cheapest real estate today. As this moves forward and more people have access to this and they come into the market where real estate is now 40% off for them because they've hit specific government middle class targets, they now flood into the market. And what is this going to do? This is yet again going to raise the price. As interest rates are coming down, which is organically going to raise the price, this too, 40% off, is going to raise the price. And you're just again going to get an inflated real estate market going up. As access to the market, barriers and the cost of money come down, what goes up? The activity in the market will go up. Then we're back to worst case scenario, multiple offers, blah, blah, blah. And most importantly, the pricing will go up. So this is a far cry from the $5 billion laundered in 2018 that just went unscathed, we'll say, under the watchful eye of the last provincial NDP golden boy, Premier Horgan. But who the hell's counting? We're just going to throw another $1.29 billion at it in this form, and yet again, we're going to see things bubble. So if you're in the first tier of this new government plan, you team up with your buddies at the top, you're going to get in, you're going to get it cheap. But as we move forward, again in a cheapening interest rate environment, this is just one other thing. We're going to look back in 5 years and say, why the hell did prices come up again? We thought it wasn't possible. Oh my God, access to capital, all in government hands, yet again.